Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge some of the special guests that we have with us today. Senate Temporary President and Majority Leader, our dear friend, John Flanagan. State Senator Kemp Hannon. State Senator Phil Boyle. State Senator John Brooks. Assemblyman Michael Montesano. Assemblyman Stephen Engelbright. Assemblyman Michael Fitzpatrick. Assemblyman Anthony Durso. Assemblyman Andrew Rea. Assemblyman David McDonough. Assemblyman Dean Murray. Basil Sagos, Commissioner of the New York State DEC. Dr. Howard Zucker, Commissioner of the New York State Department of Health. Our Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano. Our Nassau County Executive-elect Laura Curran. Suffolk County Executive Steve Ballone. Hempstead Supervisor-elect Laura Gillen. Adrian Esposito, Executive Director, Citizens Campaign for the Environment. Kevin McDonald, Conservatory Policy Advisor, The Nature Conservancy. Patrick McClellan, State Policy Director, New York League of Conservation Voters. And all of our elected officials and environmental advocates, including our county legislators, our village mayors, and our water district commissioners. We are thrilled to welcome Governor Andrew Cuomo here to the town of Oyster Bay. The governor is a true friend and ally of Long Island. From Belmont to Hicksville, under his leadership, New York State has made transformative investments to strengthen our communities and drive economic growth. The governor is also a champion of the environment on Long Island. The governor recognizes the importance of our unique natural resources and the challenges we face across Long Island. He is leading the charge to overcome those challenges and keep our water and our environment clean. From investing in our infrastructure to improving our parks and beaches, Governor Cuomo is delivering for Long Island residents. Today, he is again stepping up to protect our water quality here on Long Island. On a personal note, I was a member of the State Assembly in Albany, as many of you know, and worked with Governor Cuomo on this very issue. I've been advocating for the state to take real action on the Grumman Navy plume for years, but it was difficult getting others to listen. Governor Cuomo heard me, he listened, and I'm a Republican. Now finally we have hope and real progress on the remediation of the plume, protection of our aquifer system, and the protection of our Great South Bay. Governor Cuomo is a real leader and a true friend. And today, he's delivering a Christmas miracle. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the 56th governor of the state of New York, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to be back. Always a pleasure. We were here on Long Island yesterday, 2 days in a row, so it's a good day. First to Joe Saladino, man of many titles, assemblyman, supervisor. We had the chance to work together. And he did an extraordinary job as an assemblyman. I'm sure he's going to do an extraordinary job as a supervisor. Let's give him a big round of applause. You're going to be hearing from the Senate President, John Flanagan. Let's give him a round of applause. I have with me Commissioner of the Environment and the Commissioner of Health, Basil Sagos and Howard Zucker. It's a pleasure to be with them. And we have Assembly Member Steve Engelbright, who you'll be hearing from in a moment also. Pleasure to be with him. Our county executives, Ed Mangano and Steve Ballone, great to be with them. And all my colleagues from the Assembly and from the Senate. It's a pleasure to be with all of you. Today we're speaking about a simple issue, but an issue we've taken for granted for many years, which is now really problematic. And it's as simple as this. It's a glass of water that we have thought for many years, we never questioned it. You turn on a faucet, the water is there. You never wondered what's in the water, what chemicals, is there anything that could possibly be dangerous with this? We just took this for granted. Today, with the issues that we have in the environment, you can no longer just take it for granted. And that's one of the proposals we have for the state of the state, one of the issues that we want to address, because the quality of our water is increasingly under threat. It's not just in this state. It's all across the country. It's not just in communities that are near oceans. This morning we were in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes, lakes in the Adirondacks that have serious problems. So it's a statewide and it's a nationwide issue. And we know why. There's no mystery to why this has happened. We have overcapacity sewage treatment plants. We have septic tanks and cesspools that should have been replaced years ago that are leaking nitrogen and pollutants into the water. Long Island, 99 Superfund sites from manufacturing companies where we still have the residue of the companies. We have 85 old landfills that were never properly done in the first place. And they are just leaching contaminants now into the soil. You have saltwater intrusion. You put all of these challenges together, and it's wreaking havoc on our environment. It's also threatening our drinking water. Now, Long Island is particularly vulnerable because of the geography of Long Island. It's an island of sand. The contaminants literally go right through the sand. The sand offers very little filtration, and they wind up in the aquifer, and the aquifers move through Long Island headed towards the ocean. This state has been the most aggressive state in the country in protecting groundwater. And I applaud the members of the legislature for all the actions they've taken. The Clean Water Infrastructure Act, we just passed last year, $2.5 billion. Billion. We have the Bay Park wastewater treatment plant that we just announced that we're redoing, the Water Infrastructure Improvement Act we did, the Environmental Protection Fund, more money than ever before to protect the environment, the sewer treatment system in Smithtown and Kings Park for $40 million, the Long Island groundwater study we've done, the Nitrogen Action Plan, the Ocean Action Plan, Suffolk County and Stony Brook advanced septic systems. How do you make septic systems better and repair the ones we have? The Estuary Reserve at $900,000. In partnership with Nassau County, $354 million to connect the Bay Park wastewater treatment plant to the existing ocean outflow at the Cedar Creek treatment facility, which is going to make it is going to make a phenomenal difference. For years, we've been just having the overflow go into Reynolds Channel, and this will make a magnificent difference for the bays. And County Executive Ed Mangano deserves a lot of credit. Suffolk County, we are working in partnership with Steve Ballone, who's exactly right. He needs to connect homes to sanitary sewer systems. You have too many homes in Suffolk County that don't have the proper sewer systems, and that's winding up in the groundwater. We partnered with Suffolk County to the tune of $380 million, which is a lot of money. You see that big smile on the county executive's face? That's his smile when you give him $380 million. That's what that is. In September, we launched the 200 million shellfish project, clams and oysters that are being grown and seeded and distributed in key areas all around the island, because we believe they can help clean up the water and do it naturally. So that's something we're very excited about. And this summer we filed a lawsuit against the EPA, which made a bizarre and terrible decision to allow discharge of dredged materials from Connecticut in the eastern Long Island Sound, which, while we're trying to clean up the Sound, they're allowing dredging to be dumped into the Sound, which is totally counterproductive. And we went to court over it, and we should. We are also on the front lines in the fight against the legacy of industrial pollution. The largest single problem for Long Island is groundwater pollution, because groundwater is drinking water, and the most critical situation is the Grumman Navy facility. And this has been a situation that has been talked about for years. The action has been sporadic, and we're going to change that today. We appreciate what the industry did for Long Island. Northrop Grumman did great work, not just for this state, but for this country. It's an historic site. That's where they made the Hellcat, the Albatross aircraft that played a key role in World War II and the Korean War. They did the Apollo lunar lander was built on that site, so no doubt great work. But they left a stain behind, and they left a different legacy, which was 36 years of discharging pollutants into the groundwater. Now, when it started in the 30s, frankly, there wasn't an awareness. There was a sense that you could dump anything on the ground, and it was basically fine. That was the discharge facility for a lot of plants. But as we now know, especially on Long Island, that all winds up in the aquifer, and then there's trouble. There have been sporadic past remediation efforts. None of them were extensive enough. None of them were thorough enough. Community and elected leaders have pushed for a complete solution, but the experts told us it was impossible, that the plume was too large, too deep, too difficult to manage, and we had to live with it, was basically what they said as a conclusion. We didn't accept that response. We said we had to do better, and that's why earlier this year, working together with the Senate and the Assembly, we said to DEC, you have to figure out a more aggressive approach, and you have to figure out how we actually solve this problem, because it has to be solved. DEC was tasked with doing a fast-track engineering investigation. The goal was simple, to come up with a complete solution to the problem. That investigation has been finished. They have a conclusion, and we want to move forward from that now. The questions were, can you fully contain the plume? What is really in the plume? And let's understand exactly what chemicals we're dealing with. And then third, once you identify the chemicals, is the technology available to treat those chemicals? Those were the questions. As I said, prior to this investigation, most people said it was impossible to fully contain the plume. We brought in national experts, international experts. They went to work. They've done the most thorough investigation that has been done to date with the state-of-the-art technology. We now have a better picture than ever before of what we're dealing with. First, the plume is laced with 24 contaminants, which they found in their investigation. Some contaminants were not previously mapped, like 1,4-dioxane, which is a new chemical compound that has recently been identified and is highly problematic with negative consequences for the health of people. Second, the plume is larger than previously estimated. Almost 2 miles wide, 3.7 miles long, up to 800 feet deep. And the plume is traveling with the groundwater at various levels of the aquifer. Third, our modeling shows a more accurate trajectory, and the trajectory is that the plume will continue until it reaches the Atlantic Ocean. This is where the plume was in 1997. This is where the plume is today. This is where the plume is going over the next 20 or so years. So you can see that it has moved from where it was, which is problematic. You can also see the movement continues to hit an even wider swath, more homes, more people on the other side of the southern state, and that is the exact situation that we have to prevent. We also know the density of the plume. It's the first time they've done 3D modeling. The plume is not uniform. There are higher concentrations in different parts of the plume, and the plume is at different depths depending on different parts of the plume. Where there are higher concentrations, obviously those would be areas where you would concentrate first. So, after the investigation, after that analysis, the conclusions are, number one, you can fully contain the plume, which is good news. Two, we now know what is in the plume, which is also good news. And three, we know that we can treat all those elements that are in the plume. We have the technology to do that treatment. So now we just have to do it. And we have to do it quickly, and we have to stop the delay. So we're announcing that New York State will take action. Number one, we're going to fully contain the plume. Number two, we're going to fully treat the plume. Enough damage has been done. Our action plan will include the construction of 14 wells, which will be placed along the current perimeter of the plume to stop it where it now exists. And we believe if you strategically place 14 wells right at the edge of the plume, they can pump it out and stop the progress at that point. In places of higher concentration within the plume, they'll place additional wells to reduce those high concentrations. The wells will pump the water out, extract it to treatment facilities using state-of-the-art technology, air stripping, carbon, UV for most contaminants, and advanced oxidation for really threatening new contaminants like 1,4-dioxane. Now, we've been trying to get Northrop Grumman to do this job literally for 30 years. This has been going on. They have been difficult, they have been slow, They have been litigious, and we're not going to wait for Northrop Grumman to do this work. We're going to do the work ourselves because delay is an enemy, and time is of the essence. And every day we lose, that plume moves, and that plume is now affecting more homes. So delay is not acceptable. We're going to move forward, and we're going to move forward starting today to fast-track the construction. In 2018, we'll begin construction on the wells. The cost of the entire project is approximately $150 million. The people of Long Island deserve the state to step up and do this project and do it now. Assemblyman Saladino, before he became supervisor and was promoted, was adamant and dogged on this issue. Steve Engelbright is chairman of the Environmental Committee in Albany, and he has been an environmental watchdog, not just for Long Island, but for the entire state. And he has been adamant that the state should step in and not wait for the federal government. He's also been adamant that he believes that there is technology that can clean the plume. It turns out he was right. Senator Flanagan is not just president of the Senate, he's also a senator from Long Island. He is Mr. Long Island. I call him, concerned about all the issues on Long Island. He's been very concerned with this issue, and he's thoroughly engaged, and when he's thoroughly engaged, that's very helpful because it means you have the head of the Senate who's thoroughly engaged, and working together we have done great work. Sometimes we debate over who gets more credit for the work, but that's a good position to be in. We were together yesterday announcing that the Islanders came back to Long Island, which is a very big deal. And it was a great accomplishment, and I was there with the senator. I was a little surprised when he got up and took total credit for bringing the Islanders back to Long Island, but I understand politics, and I'm a big boy. I think he went a little far. That's my personal opinion. But, you know, he is the president of the Senate. It's a different branch, and I respect the differentiation. But then he went even further and took credit for Billy Joel's singing career, which I thought was really a little far afield. But in any event, let's give him a big round of applause and thank him for what he's doing here. We will have this initiative as part of the State of the State. We will include the funding for this initiative in the budget, and I believe there's going to be bipartisan support for it. While we're starting immediately, and the state will provide the $150 million in funding, it doesn't mean we're letting Northrop Grumman off the hook. We will proceed because we don't want to delay. We will put the money up front. We will then recoup the money from the polluters, Northrop Grumman, through our Superfund process and through litigation if necessary. So we'll get the money back, but I don't want to wait to go through the process to start the work. So we'll put the money up front, we'll start the work, we'll recoup it from the Superfund site. We're dealing with the health and well-being of the people of Long Island, and this is not a time or a place to scrimp. We need action. We need action now. We've lived with this for too long already. So we're moving forward, and we're moving forward quickly. Because at the end of the day, it's very simple. I turned the big 6-0 last week, 60 years old. And it's just bad to turn 60. There is no good news in turning 60. You know, they say, oh, well, 60, that's the new 50. Well, 50 stinks too. You know, so there's just no good in it. But you tend to reflect and you start to think about the totality of the circumstances, you know. And at the end of the day, we're here for a relatively brief period of time. And the older you get, the briefer the period of time appears. And the fundamental obligation is that while you're here, you use your skills and your talents to make this place a better place, to leave this place better for us having been here. That's what it's really all about. As a parent, as a citizen, as a human being, leave this place better than you found it. And I have 3 young ladies who are my daughters. My obligation, leave this place better, stronger, cleaner, healthier than we found it. And that's what we're going to do. The Native Americans have a great proverb that sums it all up. We didn't inherit the earth from our parents. We're borrowing it from our children. And we are stewards in the meantime. And when our time is done and we turn this state over to our children, it's going to be a better state for our having been here. Thank you, and God bless you.
So we like to kibitz, we like to have fun. And the governor and I always get nervous about who's going to speak first and who's going to speak second. Now, clearly, he's the chief executive of the state of New York, prominent role. And yesterday, I had sort of a Hobson's choice. And since he brought it up, I want to explain it to you. I had to figure out whether or not I was going to take credit for his political career or Billy Joel's singing career. So what do you think I chose? Billy Joel's singing career. To the governor. First of all, to your mom, to Sandy and the girls, Merry Christmas, Happy Healthy New Year, and by extension to everyone in the room, hope everyone enjoys a great holiday season. You know, as we start here today and listening to the words from the governor, I'm reminded of a couple of basic things, not the least of which is where we are, right here. Let's not overlook the fact that we're in a beautiful, pristine state park that is extraordinarily well managed. And this is an example of how New York State is a steward of the environment and maintaining investments. And for the state of New York, this is a great source of revenue, pleasure. It's a wonderful amenity for people who come from anywhere in the state and, frankly, outside the state of New York. So when we talk about jewels in the system, we're all sitting in one, there we go, Long Island State Parks. Wayne, it's nice to see you. And obviously, Commissioner Rose Harvey does a wonderful job on behalf of the people of the state of New York and on behalf of the governor. So when we do talk about these things, by the way, Governor, I do want to also thank you, since you did say I took credit for the program, the $150 million. I'm so glad that you added $1 million to the Senate's $149 million to get us there. We partner with the executive. We partner with Assemblyman Engelbright and the New York State Assembly. Our commissioners are here from DEC and the Department of Health. And I do think it's very important to recognize the fact that we do work together. Albany has proven that we know how to govern, and despite all my weak attempts at humor, I do work very hard with the governor and my colleagues on both sides of the aisle and in both houses. And when I say I speak on behalf of the New York State Senate, you know, where I have the privilege of serving as leader. And yesterday, I had a chance to talk about one of our colleagues. And by the way, yesterday was so cool. So cool. Talk about $1 billion investment. And I was thinking of Billy Joel, you know, the famous song, New York State of Mind. I'm like, can we retitle that for one day, just call it the Long Island State of Mind? Because it was such a wonderful day. And today is just like that as well. So when I, think of this season, it's a season of giving. The state of New York is doing a lot to help. I want to compliment and, again, extol the virtues of one of my colleagues, Senator Kemp Hannon, who's dedicated the bulk of his adult life to public service. So when you talk about $2.5 billion in water quality, you talk about $150 million that the governor spoke of today, you talk about any one of those programs. Steve Engelbright knows this. If you give Kemp Hannon an environmental study and it's 375 pages, he'll read the whole damn thing. He'll read it, he'll digest it, he'll work on it. And by the way, the governor spoke to this very eloquently. The issues that we talk about here on Long Island, they are the same all across the state of New York. Maybe with a little more severity down here, but when the governor goes up to Lake Ontario or the DEC works in Hoosick Falls and we talk about flooding and we talk about water quality all across the state of New York, that is extraordinarily important. Because whether you're in the Finger Lakes or in the central New York, Mohawk Valley, Southern Tier, if those folks are doing well, that means good things for us. There are problems there, we all have to work together. Just as our county executives work together across our borders, we have to do the same thing at the state level. So where we are right now, I think of force of personality. And I joke around with him, but force of personality actually means something very important. The governor is the chief executive of the great state of New York. His force of personality is a primary reason, if not the overarching reason, why something like this happens. Every now and then, actually more than every now and then, pretty frequently, the governor looks at things, digests them, and then says, what is going on? Why is this taking so long? Why do we have to wait? Why do we have to let other people figure out things on their own timetable? We're the government. We're responsible on behalf of the taxpayers and the residents of the state of New York. So guess what? We're getting involved. If you don't like it, get out of our way. And if you get in our way, we're going to make sure you get out of our way. So when the governor talks about a plume and the Superfund and going after people who have been dilatory in many ways, that's good for all of the people of Long Island and for the state of New York. So I'm very proud, as the governor said, to be from Long Island, to be an elected official, to serve with my colleagues, especially my colleague just to the east, where we overlap, Assemblyman Engelbright. But, Governor, I'm gratified in this season. I just want to remind you, there are 12 days of Christmas. And so far, you're doing a fantastic job. You got back-to-back. You had 2 home runs. We're only asking for 9 or 10 more throughout the rest of the holiday season. So to the governor, to all of you who are here, again, I extend my best wishes and the wishes on behalf of the Senate. And let's keep up the great work, because I remember I'll close on this, my father, and we both have legacy. My father served with distinction in the New York State Assembly, and I always remember him saying that it was really smart to live in the Northeast. It was really smart to live in New York and to live on Long Island, because we have the best water anywhere. You all know. I don't care where you go. You can go to the greatest resorts in other states. You take the drinking water, you're like, what is that? You know, I want Long Island water, or I want New York City water. We always win the contest, and part of that is because of the vigilance that is exhibited by all the people who are here, including the governor. Governor, thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Thanks for that, John. I appreciate your remarks. This is an important day for Long Island. Under Governor Cuomo's leadership, New York has led the way in protecting our environment, especially here on Long Island. From making historic investment in our clean drinking water to helping Long Islanders rebuild in the aftermath of Superstorm Sandy, to championing some of the most ambitious emissions targets in the country, New York State is serving as a responsible steward of our environment. And today, New York State is once again stepping up to the plate to address what is arguably the most severe single-site insult to the Long Island aquifer system. It was said to be impossible, but today, New York State, and particularly you, Governor, are taking what is impossible and making it possible. So thank you for that. For too long, we have demanded action to address the legacy of waste and pollution here in the geographic center of Long Island. This is a serious threat to our communities, and I believe, as everyone in this room does, that Long Islanders deserve better. But too often, our demands fell on deaf ears, until now. Because today, Governor Cuomo has heard our concerns and is taking action. This is a smart, strategic response to the Grumman Navy plume that will protect Long Islanders today and for generations to come. Know this, however, Governor Cuomo has been working toward this day for years. Shortly after he was first elected, I remember this quite clearly, I had spoken to Joe Saladino, and you had spoken to the governor. And I remember at the governor's mansion, when you brought us in for a welcoming breakfast, Governor, you pulled me aside and you said, talk to me. And you asked very specific and very insightful questions as to the validity and the scope of this issue. You were beginning the process of problem solving that led to today. And that was years ago. That determination and that follow-through is heartening. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of Long Island. So I too applaud Governor Cuomo for spearheading this effort, and I look forward to continuing to work with him to ensure that this problem is solved once and for all. I additionally wish to say thank you to DEC Commissioner Basil Sagos and his team. Your extraordinary team has also been an incredibly important part of today. And I also want to say thank you, of course, to my colleagues, especially Senator Kemp Hannon, who I had the privilege of working on this water program this year past, and my own senator, John Flanagan. Thank you for enabling the conversations to lead to policy. And of course, thank you, Joe, for bringing us this issue in such a thoughtful and consistent way. I'd like to say thank you also to everyone who's here. As we close the program today, I'd like to say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays. Have a great season. Thank you.